Hi, I'm Nate. I'm 34. And the moment I knew I was officially done with my family wasn't some loud, dramatic blowout. It was a Tuesday morning. 9:42 a.m. To be exact. I was standing in my kitchen, making scrambled eggs for my daughter Lily, still in my wrinkled work shirt, when my phone buzzed. A text from my dad. Can you send $5,000 to help cover your brother's honeymoon? No. How's Lily doing? No. Sorry we couldn't be there. Just that. Like the last 3 days hadn't happened. Let me back up. Lily is 8. Smart, funny, sensitive in a way that sneaks up on you. She had to get minor surgery, nothing life-threatening but serious enough to need general anesthesia and a few weeks of recovery. A growth on her leg that had started pressing on a nerve. We caught it early, but they needed to remove it before it impacted her ability to walk. I'm a single dad. Have been since Lily was 1. Her mom walked out one Thursday afternoon while Lily was napping. Left a note that said she loved us both but couldn't keep pretending she was built for this life. That was the last I ever saw of her. So yeah, it's been just the two of us. Me and Lily. My job isn't glamorous. I do back-end tech support for a mid-sized insurance company and pick up contract gigs when I can. I don't complain. It's enough. Lily has what she needs. I pack her lunches with cheesy notes, help with homework, and read aloud until she falls asleep with her forehead pressed against my arm. I told my family about the surgery weeks in advance. Created a shared calendar invite. Texted reminders. I didn't ask for anything big, just someone to sit with me in the waiting room. Someone to show up for her. No one responded. Not my dad, who retired early thanks to a generous inheritance from my grandfather. Not my stepmom, who always signs cards, Nana, even though she spends more time in Europe than in the same state as Lily. Not my younger brother, Evan, who's 30 and still living in the pool house behind their mansion, playing entrepreneur and launching apps that never make it past the pitch deck. Lily didn't notice the silence. Not yet. She was nervous, sure, but excited about the promise of unlimited pudding and her favorite fleece blanket waiting in the recovery room. I told her. Grandpa might come see you after, maybe Uncle Evan too. She lit up like it was Christmas. Spoiler, no one came. The surgery went fine. She was brave. I held her hand as she woke up, her voice raspy and groggy, asking if Marvin, her stuffed elephant, had been brave too. He had, I told her. They both had. We got home that night. I made her soup, queued up her favorite cartoons, and kept glancing at my phone. Nothing. Not even a check-in. Then 3 days later, while I was pouring coffee and listening to Lily hum in the other room with her leg propped up on pillows, that message from my dad came through. No subject. Just, can you send $5,000 to help cover your brother's honeymoon? He said on Bora Bora. Flights are pricier than expected. Let us know ASAP. No punctuation, even. I stared at the screen like it was written in another language. Lily was in the next room drawing a picture of Marvin in a hospital gown. I didn't reply. Not right away. Because something in me had started to shift. Something quiet. Heavy. Unmovable. And this time, I wasn't going to swallow it down. This time, I was going to do something about it. I didn't blow up. Didn't write back some long, righteous monologue. Didn't even respond with, "Are you serious?" though I typed it twice before deleting it. Instead, I turned my phone face down and went to check on Lily. She was curled up on the couch under her blanket, watching How to Train Your Dragon for what I think was the 4th time that week. Marvin sat next to her, his trunk now sporting a little band-aid Lily had carefully applied to match. "Hey, kiddo," I said gently. "Want some cereal?" She looked up and nodded. The cinnamon one. We had cereal. We watched dragons. She giggled when I made up a song about Marvin going on a space mission. And for 2 straight hours, I forgot about the text. But that night, after she fell asleep with her face in a bowl of popcorn and one hand still holding the remote, I sat down and started going through my old messages. Group texts. Emails. Voicemails. Every time I'd reached out about Lily. Her birthday last year, Evan RSVP'd, maybe, and never showed. The school play dad said he couldn't make it. Something came up. Then posted a photo from a wine tasting event that night. When Lily had the flu and I needed help picking up medicine, silence. But every time Evan launched some new startup, I got looped in with PowerPoints, pitches, family investment opportunities. When he needed a last-minute photographer for his fake wellness brand, They called me at 11 p.m. And like an idiot, I always showed up. Because that's what I thought family meant. I thought being the dependable one would eventually be enough. That if I just kept showing up, they'd start doing the same. They didn't. And now, they were asking me to fund Evan's honeymoon? 3 days after ghosting my daughter's surgery? I got up, went to my desk, and pulled out the little green notebook where I kept the things I never said out loud. I started writing. January 11th, Lily's surgery. No one came. Then I flipped back. December, sent family photo of Lily's winter recital. No replies. October, asked Mom if she could take Lily for one afternoon. She wasn't up for it. A whole notebook of moments where I had extended my hand, and it was quietly left hanging. I looked at the latest page. The silence after surgery. The gall of the ask. And I realized something. This wasn't just disappointment. This was a pattern. One they had no intention of breaking. So maybe it was time I did. The next morning, I sent my dad a single text, "Sorry. That's not something I can help with." That was it. No explanation. No apology. No spreadsheet breaking down my monthly expenses. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Dad. I didn't pick up. Then came the voicemail. Nate, I don't understand the attitude. This was a simple ask. Your brother's starting his marriage, and it'd mean a lot if you supported him. Honestly, we've let a lot slide when it comes to how you're raising Lily, but this cold shoulder is a bit much. Call us back. Let a lot slide? I played it twice. They hadn't shown up for their granddaughter's surgery, and I was being scolded for a lack of generosity. I deleted the message and sat down at my laptop. I opened the bank account I'd co-managed with Dad, the one we'd set up, for emergencies, when Lily was born. Then I started revoking access. One by one. Savings. Shared logins. Tax documents. Gone. They'd made it clear what mattered to them. Now it was time I made it clear what mattered to me. The fallout came fast. By noon that same day, my phone had lit up like it was being personally harassed by a telemarketer with parental trauma. 4 missed calls from my dad. 2 from my stepmom. 1 from Evan, which I ignored with special satisfaction. A string of texts in the family group chat, some passive-aggressive, some just aggressive. My favorite? From Dad, we're concerned about your judgment. This is about more than money. It's about attitude. And from my stepmom, an hour later, you're teaching Lily to push people away. That's not healthy. She needs family. The irony of that one almost made me drop my coffee. She needs family? You mean the family that vanished during her surgery and popped back in asking for cash? That family? I didn't answer. Because I was already done explaining. Done spinning my wheels trying to reason with people who couldn't be bothered to ask how Lily was doing before asking for a wire transfer. Instead, I went to check on my daughter. She was sitting on the rug in her room, leg in a soft cast, coloring a picture of a giraffe flying a hot air balloon. I knelt beside her. What's the balloon for? I asked. It's carrying Marvin to a cloud hospital, she said seriously. He's getting cloud juice. That sounds very important. It is. She nodded. Then, almost offhand, did Grandpa call? I paused. He did. But we didn't talk long. She didn't ask why. Didn't push. Just kept coloring. And that quiet acceptance stabbed deeper than any voicemail ever could. She knew. She might not have the vocabulary for betrayal or abandonment, or emotional inconsistency, but she knew. And she wasn't surprised. That's when it hit me. I'd spent the last few years trying to protect her from disappointment by minimizing it. Making excuses? Grandpa's busy. Uncle Evan's out of town. Nana's just tired. But in doing that, I hadn't protected her. I'd trained her to expect less. And that ends now. That night, after Lily was asleep, I opened a blank document on my laptop. Not for work, not for a grocery list. For me. The title? Lily's Circle. I listed every person in her life who had actually shown up. Miss Jamie, her second-grade teacher, who brought her a card the day after surgery. My neighbor Ed, who dropped off soup and said it was no trouble. Her best friend Ava's mom, who texted twice to check in. That's her real family. Not the ones who share her DNA, but the ones who show up when it counts. At the bottom of the page, I wrote one more name, me. Because no matter what her grandparents said, I wasn't raising her with a chip on my shoulder. I was raising her with boundaries. And yeah, that might be uncomfortable for people used to walking all over them. But that wasn't my problem. Not anymore. The next day, I told HR I wanted to use my floating holiday. They said yes, no questions asked. Lily and I packed a little bag, booked a room at a cheap bed and breakfast near the coast, and drove 2 hours just to sit by the ocean with grilled cheese and hot chocolate. She didn't ask about my parents once. She just held my hand and said, "This is my favorite surgery celebration ever." And I swear right then I made a promise. To never let anyone treat her like an afterthought again. Including myself. The silence didn't last. It never does. By the end of the week, Evan sent me a voice memo because of course he did. Apparently, texting like a normal person didn't offer the emotional nuance he felt the situation required. I hit play while Lily was watching cartoons in the other room. "Hey bro, listen, I know things have been tense. But this whole money thing? It's not that deep, man. Mom and Dad were just trying to help me out and figured you'd want to support the big moment. I mean, not everyone gets to honeymoon in Bora Bora, right?" He laughed, like we were co-conspirators in some harmless caper. Then, "Also, Mom's kinda upset. Says you're being really unfair. I don't know what happened, but maybe cool it? For the sake of the family." I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have things to say, God, did I, but because I realized something important. They still thought this was about money. About a text. They hadn't even begun to understand that this was years in the making. Years of swallowed frustration. Years of being the adult when no one else would step up. Years of them treating Lily like a side note instead of a person. So no, I wasn't cooling it. I was finally heating up. And Evan? He wasn't even the real problem. He was just the golden child-shaped symptom of a bigger disease. Later that day, I got another text. This time from my stepmom. "Can we please talk? This is getting out of hand. Your dad is heartbroken. He didn't mean to hurt you. None of us did. You've always been so sensitive." Sensitive. There it was. The go-to label they'd used since I was a teenager. Every time I set a boundary. Every time I spoke up. Every time I asked, "Why is Evan allowed to skip school and I get grounded for AB?" Sensitive. It wasn't an apology. It was an accusation dressed up in concern. I stared at the message and realized I'd spent most of my life trying to earn love from people who only gave it on their terms. Who treated affection like a limited resource. Who believed love was something you bought into by staying quiet, staying agreeable, staying useful. And for years I'd done it. But not anymore. I opened my Notes app and started listing everything I needed to fix. Remove shared access from old emergency savings account, cancel auto-billing that included Evan's cloud hosting. Why was I paying that? Update Lily's emergency contact forms at school, remove grandparents. Call the lawyer. That last one was the hardest. See, years ago, when Lily was born, my grandfather had quietly left a small inheritance in trust. A safety net. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to help cover college someday. Dad had been named as co-signer. Until Nate's stable enough to manage this solo. Those were the lawyer's words. I hadn't even questioned it at the time. But I was stable now. Hell, I was a fortress. And no one, not Dad, not stepmom, not Evan, was going to get near that money again. So I picked up the phone, called the firm, and said 7 words that changed everything. "I'd like to update the trust access." That night, I sat with Lily on the couch. She was drawing again, this time a picture of me in a superhero cape with Marvin at my side. "What's my superpower?" I asked. She thought for a second. "You don't quit," she said. "You always stay." I kissed the top of her head and thought, let them call me sensitive. I'd rather feel everything and show up, than feel nothing and disappear. Let them talk. I was just getting started. The trust transfer went through by Friday. Quiet, clinical, signed and notarized. The attorney emailed me the paperwork with a line that read, "Full control now rests with you. Let us know if you'd like to establish a beneficiary clause for your daughter." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Beneficiary clause. Such a sterile phrase for something so deeply emotional. But I knew exactly what it meant. I could finally make sure everything my grandfather left wouldn't be siphoned off by people who saw my kid as a burden, not a blessing. I emailed back, "Yes." Set it for Lily. With full restriction against any future co-signers. 10 minutes later, I got a call from the lawyer's assistant to confirm the update. It was done. Just like that. And for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't realized I was missing: safety. Not just financial, emotional. Like I had finally put a lock on the front door of our life, and no one could sneak in anymore. I wanted to feel victorious. But mostly, I just felt tired. Because drawing boundaries, real ones, takes energy. It costs peace before it buys it. That weekend I didn't work. I didn't clean. I didn't think about family politics or taxes or how to draft a legally polite go screw yourself letter. Instead, Lily and I stayed in our pajamas for 2 straight days. We baked cookies, played a board game she made up as we went, and built the world's worst pillow fort that collapsed mid-movie. And on Sunday night, as she was brushing her teeth, she looked up at me in the mirror and said, "Daddy, I think Marvin feels stronger now." "Stronger?" I asked. She nodded, mouth full of bubblegum toothpaste. "Like he knows who's really on his team." I knelt beside her. "And who's on your team, Lily?" She spat into the sink and wiped her mouth. "You. Always." I pulled her into a hug and whispered, "That's all we need." But the universe, as it turns out, wasn't quite done testing me. Monday morning, I opened my email to find a message from my dad. No subject line. Just a single PDF attachment titled, "Family Statement March." I knew before I opened it that it would be something awful. And I was right. It was a letter. Not to me. To the entire family. It had clearly been sent BCC style, addressed to cousins, aunts, family friends, the whole extended mess. In it, my parents explained that there had been a misunderstanding regarding my behavior. That I had shut them out over a minor scheduling conflict, and fabricated a narrative to justify keeping Lily from them. They even referenced the surgery. While we regret not being physically present, we were fully aware of the situation and chose to give Nate space as he's often overwhelmed during medical events. Overwhelmed. They made me sound like a fragile man-child who couldn't handle basic parenting. Then came the part that made my jaw clench. "We hope Nate chooses to re-engage with the family soon. Lily deserves the support of her full tribe, not just one bitter parent who thinks he's a martyr." Martyr. I slammed my laptop shut so hard it made Lily jump from the living room. "Everything okay?" she called. I took a breath. "Yeah, sweetie. Just bumped into some old junk." Because that's what it was. Old junk. Rotten, rusted legacy wrapped in ribbon and fake smiles. I didn't respond to the letter. But I did something better. I printed it. All 3 passive-aggressive pages. And I filed it in a folder I just started that week, labeled in big bold Sharpie. Documentation: Lily's future. Because if they ever tried to come for custody, or visitation, or tried to twist the story again, I'd be ready. Not out of fear, but out of love. Because when people show you who they are, you write it down. You keep receipts. You protect your kid. Even if it means walking alone. Especially then. They say your real family are the people who show up when things get hard. By that definition, Lily and I have exactly 3 people left in our circle. One of them is Ava's mom, who brought over a casserole and a stack of children's books when Lily was stuck on the couch recovering. She didn't ask if I needed help. She just said, "I thought Lily might like some new stories." And she stayed for 10 minutes to help clean the dishes without comment. The second is Miss Jamie, Lily's teacher, who let her sit out of gym class for an extra week because healing looks different on everyone. And because Lily was nervous kids would laugh at her cast. And the third? Me. And I finally stopped apologizing for that. The email my dad had sent to the extended family didn't get the reaction he hoped for. 2 cousins I hadn't heard from in over a year texted me screenshots with confused messages like, "Wait, you made this up?" And "I thought they said you refused to bring Lily to the wedding?" Exactly. They changed the story so many times they'd lost track of their own fiction. I didn't send a mass reply. I didn't argue. I just replied to the cousins individually. Calmly. One message said, "No, I didn't refuse. She wasn't invited. But she's doing great now. Thanks for asking." Another said, "My only job is being the best dad I can be. Everything else is noise." And then I blocked my father's email address. Just like that. Click. Gone. No dramatic exit. No screaming match. Just peace. Because I was done letting people who hadn't earned a seat at our table shout in from the window. And the craziest part? Life got better. Not louder. Not more exciting. Just lighter. I had more time. I started going for evening walks with Lily, letting her pick the direction. One time she led me to a dead-end street with a tiny park I didn't even know existed. She made up a game where the swings were healing machines, and Marvin took 3 full turns before she said he was cured. I said, "How can you tell?" She said, "He's not scared anymore." Neither was I. I started saying no to things without guilt. No to extra shifts I couldn't afford to take. No to fake reunions. No to anything that drained me without offering my daughter even a fraction of support in return. And I started saying yes to things that mattered. Yes to helping Lily sign up for her school's art contest. Yes to taking a community course on running your own tech business. Yes to a podcast interview someone requested after seeing my LinkedIn post about single fatherhood. That post, by the way, blew up. I didn't even mean for it to. Just a photo of Lily and me working on her math homework and a caption that said, "Doing the work for her, for me, for the future." People responded. Clients reached out. One woman said, "I wish I'd had a dad like you growing up." I cried for 10 minutes after reading that. Because I never thought I'd be seen that way. Not after how my own father defined me. And then, 3 weeks later, Lily brought home a flyer from school. It was for a grandparents and special guests lunch. You know, the kind where everyone brings a relative, and you eat lukewarm spaghetti on folding chairs in a cafeteria decorated with construction paper turkeys. She looked up at me, holding the flyer with both hands. "I don't think we should go," she said. I crouched down. "Why not?" "Because I don't have a grandma or grandpa anymore." I hesitated. The old me would have jumped to comfort, to sugarcoat. But I didn't. I just asked, "How does that make you feel?" She shrugged. "Okay, I think. They didn't really show up anyway." Then she handed me the flyer. "Can you be my special guest instead?" I took it, trying not to cry. "I was hoping you'd ask." She beamed. We went. We sat at a table decorated in glitter glue. We ate spaghetti. I wore a name tag that said, "Lily's favorite human." And for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel like something was missing. Because nothing was. We were exactly who we needed. The thing about healing is, it doesn't show up with trumpets. There's no grand aha moment. It just sneaks in while you're busy making grilled cheese, folding laundry, or watching your kid laugh so hard she snorts at a cartoon goat. One night, Lily asked me if we could have a picnic in the living room. She said it had to be fancy, with napkins and juice and wine glasses and real music, not just my usual lo-fi playlist. So we did it. I dug out a blanket, made little cucumber sandwiches, put on a jazz record I hadn't touched in years, and we danced barefoot under the ceiling fan until she collapsed into giggles. That was our normal now. And it was enough. More than enough. I wish I could say that was the end of it. That the text stopped, the letters stopped, the manipulation retired itself like some outdated app. But toxic people don't respect peace. They sniff it out like smoke and come running with matches. It happened on a Thursday afternoon, a full month after I'd revoked access to everything: accounts, documents, even the emergency contacts at Lily's school. I was picking Lily up when the front office receptionist flagged me down. "Hi, Mr. Bennett. We had a situation today." My heart dropped. She saw it in my face and added quickly, "Lily's fine. Totally fine." Then she lowered her voice. "But a woman came and said she was Lily's grandmother. Claimed there was a family emergency and asked to take her out early." I blinked. She didn't have ID, and her name wasn't in the system, so we followed protocol. Didn't let her in past the front desk. I nodded, barely breathing. "Did she say her name?" The receptionist looked uncomfortable. "Karen Bennett. She said she was your mother." I thanked her, took Lily's hand, and walked out of there with my mind racing. When we got home, I made Lily a snack, put on her favorite movie, and then sat in my bedroom with the door cracked open just enough to hear her if she called. And then I called my mom. Straight to voicemail. So I tried again. This time, she picked up on the third ring. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, sweet as poison. I didn't waste time. "You went to Lily's school today. I was in the area. You tried to take her out. I just wanted to talk to her. You won't let us see her, you're not on the pickup list. You didn't leave us any choice." I gripped the phone so hard I could hear the plastic creak. "You had a choice the day she had surgery, and you didn't show up. You had a choice when you lied to our family. You made every choice already, Mom." Silence. Then, You don't understand how hard this has been on us. On them. I hung up. Then I emailed the school. Then the district. Then called the lawyer. I documented everything. I flagged their names, locked down every file I could access, and added a formal restriction to Lily's profile at every institution that had her name on it. Because this wasn't estrangement anymore. This was protection. They wanted access to my daughter like she was some heirloom they could check in on once the tarnish wore off. But Lily wasn't an extension of their narrative. She wasn't a plot point in their delusion. She was my child. And she wasn't going to grow up thinking love meant conditions. That night I told Lily, if anyone ever says they're family and tries to pick you up from school, even if you recognize them, you tell a teacher, okay? She looked at me, dead serious. Even if it's grandma? I nodded. Especially if it's grandma. She nodded too. No fear. No tears. Just trust. Later, I found her asleep on the couch, Marvin tucked under one arm, a note in the other. In her wobbly handwriting it said, Daddy and me equals safe. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't justice. But it was enough for now. 6 months later, Lily stood on stage at her school talent show, cast long gone, hair in braids, violin in hand. She played her whole heart out, scratchy, imperfect, fearless. When it ended, the crowd clapped. I stood in the back, tears threatening, and she scanned the room until her eyes found me. She grinned. I didn't think about who wasn't there. I thought about what we built, a life free of begging, of bitterness, of pretending people deserved access just because of blood. That night, Lily curled up next to me on the couch and whispered, You came. You always come. And I whispered back, Always. Let them watch from the sidelines. Let them spin their stories. We weren't broken. We were bulletproof. And we weren't going back.